Hello, welcome back. Part 4 of our Blender tutorial series. This time we're just going to delve a little bit more into some more modeling tools and the tools that you're going to use all the damn time. But very quickly, I just want to quickly discuss these windows, what this is about. So I've got mine set up. I mean, we haven't talked about this because we haven't needed to, but I've got mine set up to my own preference, which is I've got a 3D viewport here, which I look at for most of my editing. I've got one here which is looking directly down, or I could be looking directly from the side. And this is my shader window where you would start to do all your texturing, which we'll get to. But to change them, up here in every single one, you've got this little drop down. So this is where you can change what the window is that you want here. So for me, as I say, I have mine as a shader editor. 3D viewport, 3D viewport. You can move these windows very simply, but there is a tricky old thing about adding more and removing them, which catches everyone out at the beginning. It's a pain. But if you get, in fact, so let's say I don't want any other window but the viewport. If you right click on this, on the split, you get a couple of options, one of which being join areas. And then after you click, it's not going to do anything. It's going to show you some arrows. So it's going to tell you where is this going to join. So I want this to go that way. And I've got to do the same because it split the windows with this, join areas. And then I don't want to go up. I want to go down because I want this one to be down here too. So there we go. So now I've just got one window. Making more can be a pain, but there is a knack. So if you hover up to the very top corner, just between this icon, the Blender icon, and your general menu, you get this cross. If you click and hold and then drag, you get another window. So now I've got two windows. And again, I can change this to anything I want. I mean, I'll just go with geometry. No, I don't need geometry nodes. I'll just go back to 3D viewport. And now to get my other one back, again, these little crosses, it's got to be these crosshairs that appear, and they normally appear over here. So I've got one there, I've got one here, so I could, and this is where people get stuck. They start adding more and more windows, just because once it clicks on this, that's adding a new window. And again, just if you don't want them, join the areas. Right click on that gap, join areas, bosh. But I do want my shader editor back, so I'm going to go down here, get that crosshair, bring it up, and then change that to shader editor. And this menu here that appears on the side, if you press N, it disappears. So you can toggle it with N. And there's also T, which brings up the menu over here, but we haven't got there yet. So N will bring up this this information. Okay, so that's the windows covered. Let's look at a few more tools for the modeling. So last lesson we talked about moving vertices, about subdividing, and now we're going to talk about things like insetting and extruding, because that is how you can effectively turn any shape into anything, literally, by extruding. So I'll show you how to do that, but I'm actually not going to, I'm going to unsubdivide by Control Z. So if you followed me and subdivided, Control Z and go back to a normal face. So if I want something, let's say I'm making, let's pick a very simple object. Let's pick a table. Let's pick a table, and you can follow along as we go. So if you select, and again we press tab to go into edit mode, select the top face and then just press GZ to just bring it down on the Z axis, like this. If you tab back into object mode and just press GZ and then bring it up, so it's just above the floor, because this is basically the floor. This is negative space, that's positive. That's negative, that's positive. So we've got our table. Now what I want to do is get some legs, and I can do that just by using this shape. So if I tab into edit mode, new thing, instead of subdividing the whole thing, we just want to add what are called loop cuts, and these are integral to modeling, are your loop cuts. And a loop cut is just a way of dividing this shape slap bang in the middle, and you do that by pressing Control and R. and you get this line comes up. If it's going to show you which direction, so if I will hold it here, it's going to cut that way. If I hold it here, it's going to cut that way. And when I say cut, it doesn't separate the geometry. It just, if you were to cut it, this is the line you would use. Think of it as a seam, I suppose. Once you left click once, you can then pick where on this thing you want to go. So I want to go, you know, I need 4 legs. So I need 4 cubes in the corners of each of this square. So if we look from above, I press, and yeah, if you press 7 on your number pad, you're looking directly above. If you press 1, you're looking directly from the front. If you press 3, you're going directly from the right. If you press Control followed by those numbers, you're doing the opposite side. So Control 1 means I'm looking from behind, Control 3 means I'm looking from the left, and Control 7 means I'm looking from underneath. But I'm pressing 7 to look from above. So I need to, yeah. So once I put the loop cut in, I want a loop cut here and a loop cut here, and then one that goes on the x-axis across to make cubes in the corner. But I want them to match evenly. I want the legs to be evenly spaced. So if once I've left clicked once, I press Control R and I've left clicked once to set which axis I'm on, now I can slide it about. I don't want it slid about. I don't want to try and put one here, then make a new loop cut and put one here and hope I get the same distance. There's a way to do it symmetrically. So once I've left clicked and I'm now sliding, if I right click, it sets that. It just puts it in the middle. So if you've got it over here and you right click, it's going to put it in the middle. So that is dead center. And if I press Control and B and then start to move my mouse, you can see now that I've now got 2 loop cuts. It's split that it's copied that loop cut and spread it across. And I don't want my legs to go right to the edge, so my first cut, and this will all make sense once I get further. So I'm just going to leave a little gap on the edge. Now, if I go from above again and I press Control R, so this time I'm going to go on the x-axis through the middle. And again, if I move it, I can left click and set it there, or I can left click and set it there, but I want it dead central, so I'll just right click and there's my central loop cut. Now if I do the same thing again, I'm just going to change the angle slightly and press Control and B. As I bring it out, I would say this will be the inside of the leg. So I'm going to put it there. So now you can see I'm starting to get what I want. What I need are more loop cuts. So if I Control R again, slap one in the middle, and then press Control and B again, and then drag my mouse. I don't want 2 thick legs. Okay. And then all I have to do to get my cubes, I can visualize this really, is just, I'm looking to make this area here the leg. So if I drop that and I'm going to bring it to there, then left click, and then I do the same up this side. Control R, left click, and then about there. That's fine. Okay. So now nothing's really changed, but we've changed the topology. So now if we press, remember if we press 7, we're looking from above. If we press Control and 7, we're looking from below. So now we're looking underneath the table. So if you select the face select option, because you remember you've got face, edge and vertex, we're using the face, and we want to select each of these corner points. And if you press Shift and select, it's just going to select them. It seems weird. You'd think if you press Shift and select like a file thing, it would shift through and then you'd get this selection as well. But Shift in Blender means just add this to the selection, don't necessarily connect them. If you wanted to select from here and from here without going select that, select that, select that, you can just select the first one and the last one you want it to go to and hold Control instead, and it will go across. But for this, it's Shift. So we want to select these faces. So you can see we've got these 4 bottom faces. we could just drag them down, but it's going to be, we want nicer edges. So once you've got these faces selected, if you press I for inset, you'll see that we're insetting that face. So when we extrude it, we're not coming in a direct straight line. You'll see what I mean. So, and that applies for all of my selections. It's done the same thing on all of them. By pressing I to inset, it's inset every single face. Now, if we press G and then Z, we're just going to bring the faces that are selected slightly down, and then left click to stop. And then if you press E for extrude, it will, if it doesn't go directly down and it starts going all weird, just press E and then Z. And that will, if it's doing this when you first extrude, just press Z and it will extrude it directly down like that. So it's just a bit of a thing. And that's the table. So we start with a cube, 11 minutes, that's perfect. We started with a cube, we've got a table. And that's using, E for extrude, I for inset, and Control R to make your loop cuts. Okay, that's 11 minutes, so we'll stop there, and then I'll figure out the next one, and then, well, there'll be a title because it will be up. All right, wicked. I will see you in the next one. Bye.